Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium. I am Inquisitor Caveat Ventus, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is my report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesys adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee, Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Laura Elizabeth as Lyric, and Tyler Hewitt as Alto. My report shows that the Inquisitorial Band solidified their alliance through blackmail and mutual necessity. Lyric discovered she was a latent psyker. Valentyne laid out the threat the shared visions pose, and Alto successfully piloted the shuttle to Tren. What awaits Valentyne's band on a death world? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
A verdict delivered in absentia against Administratum Philos Tremaine. Administratum of Galen's Garden, planet Tren. As has been repeatedly stated by the Imperium, any use of Xenos is strictly prohibited and viewed as a straight affront to the Emperor and all of humanity. And the fact that Tremaine had the gall to attempt what he did is nothing short of treason. If he were here, we would shoot him in the head. Since he is not, we trust that you, Adeptus Arbites, will be able to handle this on your own. Please make sure he suffers. Official verdict signed, logged. Bring the skull over here. Yep, just clomp down here. All right, just bite it. Bite it twice. Okay, good. Officially documented on this day. So, years ago, a verdict was passed down on an administratum of a thing that no longer exists on the planet Tren, Galen's Garden, which you can currently see a little bit of from space as you fall burning through the atmosphere with emergency chutes deployed as what's left of the Emperor's Hope. Your astral line ship begins to drift down towards the now death world of Tren.
Oh, so it didn't go that well.
It went as well as was described, where we blew up the whole ship, but we're not dead. I would say net gain.
All right, fair.
We got there on schedule.
Yeah. All he had to do was Imperium drift through a couple of gravity fields that aren't meant to be done, and the ship fell apart. But it's okay.
Of controlled explosions propelling us faster and further through space.
Exactly. Yeah, it's good. As long as there is a ship somewhere on this planet, it's good. So as you begin to kind of drift down, you can see beneath you a what looks to sort of be would have been at one point a lush jungle. You can see thick foliage and that sort of thing. But kind of to your surprise, it's now dusted in snow. So you kind of can see bits of canopy here and there, but ultimately a lot of snowbanks, kind of swirling winds. And you can see kind of from your elevated position looking down exactly why Philos Tremaine was sentenced to death. Galen's Garden, another of the domes created by the famed architect, is no more. What you can see is a massive ring where the foundation was built. And this is considerably larger than Galen's Glory. So you can only kind of see part of it. But where your dome lasted until a ship crashed into it, this one seems to be long gone. And in its stead, the vegetation of the planet seems to have grown over. The Acri is kind of controlling the burn on the way down. So it's not like you're plummeting. You're just like, once you clear the atmosphere, it's a fast drop, but not an unreasonable one. And he kind of adjusts the vectors for what looks like kind of a thick area of canopy that will hopefully take a bit of the collision. But given how much snow there is, you really feel like you're at this point, there's no like open plains anywhere. It seems to be mostly trees, but also you are in a snowstorm. So it's very difficult to kind of gauge where you should land the ship. Is there anything you want to do on the way down?
Hold on. We're in basically now just like the frontmost compartment of the ship, right? There's not.
Yeah, really do consider this well, I mean, honestly, like a space shuttle capsule returning to Earth. So it's just the cockpit.
I think
Also, you've just finished playing another round of Digispace, which admittedly feels less exciting now that you've piloted an actual spaceship. But Acri is also really excited about it because he really liked the original version. But like these sick vector graphics are much cooler than the 2D one he played. So like he is all about it. He also seems like he might be just a little bit on the verge of insanity, given that his consciousness has been trapped in a dead ship for presumably 200, 300 years.
Sure.
Cool. Valentine's got a data slate, so I think he would try to download like the location of the spaceport and like whatever version of a map of the local area exists. I mean, he's still in that weird unflappable space of like, well, if it's a random chance that kills you, it's the Emperor's will. Mm-hmm. So he's just like strapped in and kind of working away.
Ryan, you know Imperial tech better than I do. What level of connection would a data slate have? Would it require? I assume it would probably require a network.
My guess would be it would have to be a manual. Like it might be a network if there was like a noosphere or something. But knowing this is old tech, he probably has like a manual, like the equivalent of like it's probably a spike, but it's like a USB plug that would be like data slate to shuttle computer. It wouldn't have. Like,
I see. So sorry,
universal
you're trying to.
Wi-Fi.
I see. So you're trying to take the astral line data, not like just kind of from the records of the
because I wasn't briefed on this area, so I would have already had to have it uploaded. I don't think there's universal Wi-Fi.
Cool, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't some like hollow net that I didn't know about.
On a Forge world, there might be, but not anywhere else.
Yeah, great. Okay, so we'll say that you. I feel like you actually just plug into Alto. I feel like Alto, you've probably, since you're the one who's linked to the computer, would you have like an interface port or something that you would, or like a cable you would plug? I'm mostly just thinking of your character portrait that seems to have brain cables.
Yeah, that's mainly for my interfacing with external things, and also my manipulator arm, my utility mechadendrite.
Okay, in that case, then no, you wouldn't be the interface. So that's fine. You just plug directly into Acri, you get a sort of an updated schematic on this. From the looks of things, you get kind of like the travel brochure version. Galen's Garden, whereas Galen's Glories seem to be like a colony, like really a place to come and live. This seems like a destination, like a place you would come to visit. And it talks about the lush vegetation and interesting flora and fauna of the planet. And how the beauty of this world deserves to be preserved. There are kind of in the side files some concerns about the gradual effects of the slightly, and when I say slightly, I do mean like very, very gradual. But there's a gradual degeneration of orbit on this planet. So it is it's actually falling kind of further and further out of orbit from the sun. There was some kind of celestial disaster, likely an asteroid or something, that has knocked it slightly off its orbit. So it would seem that Galen's prime concern was protecting the beauty of this planet with one of these domes, even as the rest of it kind of fell into different climate patterns. Now, as with Galen's Glory on Vistani, Vermeer, I've been reading too much about the Curse of Strahd controversy online right just in my head. The sphere here was built much larger and kind of built to protect against eventual climate damage. However, you also get the sense that this was a bit of a flight fancy. The colony was much more important. So it seems Galen lent his assistance to building the dome, but then it was left in the hands of Administratum Tremaine. Now, you wouldn't have the execution record that I opened the show with, because they wouldn't upload that to general servers. But it would seem that Tremaine was viewed as a visionary and was specifically dispatched to Tren in order to essentially find a way to make this nature preserve profitable. The finances of the Imperium are very, very strange and vary, as we talked about a bit last time, from sector to sector. But in this case, given that Galen's glory was supposed to kind of become the ultimate space colony, there was a lot of expectation that this would be a great way to essentially finance it and the other domes that he'd set up on other planets in the sector. We're going to say that this system has... there were plans in place to eventually rename it in Galen's honor, but given the kind of collective failure, as well as the various incidents that distracted Imperial attention away, it is currently just labeled we'll say System B83.
Okie dokie. Can I figure out where we are relative to the spaceport?
So it would seem that part of the plan was to make use of the planet itself as kind of part of the experience, so you can kind of see whatever state the planet is in currently on your trip from the spaceport to the preserve. The spaceport seems to be sort of across the dome, or at least the dome footprint from where you are about to land. So you can definitely get kind of like an X you can put on your map. It is a considerable distance away. But the good news is that because this was a nature preserve, there do seem to be a lot of indications that there will be vehicles. You're not sure what state they'll be in, but there are a lot of like covered jeeps and sort of like glass-topped vehicles that should be around. Very much think in terms of like vehicles you can expect, like kind of a mix of like African Lion Safari and Jurassic Park, like the kinds of vehicles you would want to be able to see all the sights and sounds around you that are also likely protected enough to survive the elements and any local xenos. Protect visitors from what's outside.
Cool.
So with the wind whipping around the cockpit, the ship smashes through a canopy, jostling all of you in your crash webbing. Bounces off a couple trees before impacting kind of with a big puff of snow into a bank of kind of a snow bank with, again, some very brittle of those massive like oh Jesus, what's the name of these trees? Fronds? Palms? Anyway, think like just those like massive leaves that are in cool jungle environments.
Nice.
Cool.
Big ferns, etc.
Yeah. But that all seem to be kind of like vaguely withered and possibly dead under the snow cover. So like in a weird state where the structure of them is still there, but you're not actually sure if the foliage is alive or not.
Is that the general state of the foliage, kind of as far as we can see?
Yeah. So basically, the best way to think about this is literally if you dumped a full load of snow on a jungle, but if that had happened over time. So from looking around, you are in kind of deep jungle foliage. There's less snow down here because the canopy took a lot of it. But it would seem that as the planet got further and further from the sun, that it has slowly started to freeze over, and the moisture in the atmosphere has ceased to be kind of that jungle haze and has instead become kind of a permanent, if light, snowstorm. So it's very fluffy snow. It's not like heavy packed stuff. It's almost powder, but certainly ever present.
Okay, so it's also cold here. Even in the jungle, it is cold.
Yes.
Got it, okay.
All right, friends, do you have any survival gear anywhere outside this shuttle? Oftentimes, they're ready for things to perhaps go down, and I don't know if any survived in this pilot area.
Can I cycle through Emperor's Hope systems for any kind of crash preparedness kit in the cockpit? Helm?
Yeah, totally. So go ahead, Tyler. I'm just trying to pull up a character sheet here because my skills are not the
Tech
same
use,
as yours.
Tom? Is that what you're looking for, I imagine?
Yeah, that is what I want. Thank you. Yeah. So Tyler, this is going to be just a 1 purple because if this thing isn't built by idiots, which I think we can kind of like roughly assume, it's not like you hide the fucking med kit
Yeah.
It's like, oh, in an emergency, I really want them to have to investigate the clues. It's not like Umbrella Corporation built this and you have to use a weird butterfly key you find in 2 separate spaces to open the medicine cabinet.
Yeah. Normal stuff.
Yeah, normal pharmaceutical company stuff. So yeah, 1 purple. I'm going to give you a blue from Acri helping.
Okay.
And I'll give you another blue from just being interfaced with the systems.
Oh yeah, I think that might be implicit in one of these things.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yes, your MIU gives you that. Tom, I think, just built it in advance.
Plus
just a
2.
really nice guy.
Blue. So there we go. Okay. Holy shit. 5 successes, 3 advantages, 1 triumph.
Acri's like, well, I'm glad you asked. Here's a bunch of parkas. Fuck, man, that is a very, very good roll. Okay, so yeah, I'll say that there's some definitely like some thermal suits, more built for a breach in the deck than anything else. So you kind of have to like, I think we'll say the best way to think of this is like, I think of them as like a wetsuit,
Spacesuit kind of thing. Okay.
Well, no, like a wetsuit, so very tight to the skin, and with like a hood that comes up and has like the full scuba hood, and then you would clamp a hood, like a helmet over it for like a face mask. Again, I think based on the kind of ship this is, it doesn't make sense for it to have like full spacesuits, but it does have things that would help you survive the vacuum and the cold if there was a hull breach. Luckily, because they have enough of these, like you're in the command deck, so there's enough for the crew, less so for the passengers. The helmets likely won't do much good for you out here because they're built for kind of inside the cockpit. They might do more harm than good, but the suits will definitely help keep your bodies warm. So we'll say that the suit will add, fuck Tyler, you rolled really well. So let's say 2 blue to survival checks against the elements. And you can put it on under your existing gear so you can still look like badasses. You just know that you're thermally warm.
Okay. Mine will go over because I'm wearing a pretty tight-fitting gear already.
Okay, sure. Yep,
I'm
whatever
wearing,
you want.
I think it's literally called a body glove. Yeah, so...
Cool. I mean, ultimately...
It will go under for the Inquisitor. I think he just starts stripping immediately. There's no pride to him. The thing that I think, because I'm imagining Lyric would pay attention probably to, not to like hot bod, but just like what's under the coat.
What do I need to kill if this goes bad?
yeah.
Actually, she would 100% be gathering a lot of information. So when she needs to betray you, can.
So he's like lankier than you would expect when you see like the armor and the coat come off, and you realize that kind of broadened him out. Like in the uniform, he looks more imposing than he does out of it. He's also like covered in scars. Like it looks like he would like almost, if you had to guess, probably like a mine exploded and it's just individual fragments of like shrapnel. But from like, if you're imagining the pattern, it's upper shoulder on the left side down across the torso kind of thing, front and back. And when he takes off his carapace like chest plate, he actually has like a small modified last pistol inside a concealed holster that's at like the small of his back under that, that he like tucks back in afterwards. It's completely invisible otherwise. And I imagine Lyric would know looking at it that it's very consciously designed to get past detection. So if he were to hand away his pistol and his chainsword, odds of someone finding it would be very low if they searched him. And then he just like dresses up again. He's got no real interest in this. And then while you guys are getting dressed, he'd probably also just like do a quick program on Eugene, pursuant to our deal earlier.
Right.
And I will, Lyric, I don't know if I explained earlier, but I do have a mesh cloak. I had it with me, but I just wasn't like using it to cover me. So I will definitely put that over me, wear it around a little suit. And it does have a camellia line coating. So it will be blending in It allows me to kind of like camouflage. It kind of blends in with the surroundings a bit.
So on a scale of chainmail to fabric, how fine is the mesh, do you picture?
It is fabric. Like it is very, very thin. It's because it's mesh, like it's designed to like on impact, like harden kind of. So
like Batman cape from Nolan movies kind of deal?
Yeah. And it's kind of made of like all these like basically tiny little fabric-y links, but that are like metallic-y mesh.
So in a D&D terms, would this be like an iron silk kind of coat?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Dope.
Cool. And in terms of your stealth ability, I assume it's not like a full cloak of invisibility. It's more like, if I may borrow a Metal Gear term, octo camo, where it's like, oh, this is like green, like, oh, it's trees. I can duck amongst the trees and it will reflect enough of that it seems like I'm seeable. I'm not invisible, but it's
exactly. It's like it's like if I was in like if I'm in like a busy environment, if you were to like pass your eyes over me, you probably wouldn't see. Right. You know, like a busy background. Mechanically, it like adds 2 advantage to my stealth checks and like adds 2 challenge to perception checks against me.
Okay.
If you're looking for other Camellia Line references, Tom, I don't know if you've read any of the Tanith novels.
Gaunt's Ghosts?
Yeah, Gaunt's Ghosts.
Yes.
Their cloaks are Camellia Line cloaks. So it just picks up the colors around them so that they blend into whatever the environment is.
Okay, good. That is what I was thinking. I was mostly looking for non 40K references for non 40K fans. So I went for, the most universally watched game of all time, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns.
Yes, beloved video game.
Or the simplest reference, it's like a chameleon.
Whoa. So wait, it gives her good karma?
Hang on a second.
All of our versions of that are fun. Okay, great. So now
it's like a flawed, it's like a janky invisibility cloak.
I like that. Janky.
Yeah, it's before you put skill points into it.
Yeah.
All right, friends. So we've got into our gear. I have Eugene here. I changed something. So here's the deal. I need Eugene for a number of inquisitorial functions. However, we have made our agreement. He has begun recording. And the command now is, Lyric, if you say, the Inquisitor has betrayed us, and then a word of your choosing now, please choose a word that you would say very rarely, then he will revert to your command. Alto will give you your own, shall we say, safe word. Because who knows, you may actually need to pretend I betray you at some point for the purpose of a ruse, so we add a word to make sure that I'm apparently actually doing it and it's not an accident. So, words of choice, friends. You can add them in.
What word wouldn't I use?
Cuddly.
I'm sorry.
All right, so we'll add cuddly for Alto. So, Alto, you can say the Inquisitor has betrayed us.
I like cuddly stuff. Just saying, like, Lyric definitely would not use the word cuddly. Yeah.
All right, so...
You're right, Alto, I wouldn't.
The Inquisitor has betrayed us cuddly. We'll put Eugene under Lyric's control. And in terms of you, Alto, what would you like your safe word to be?
It's... The triggering phrase is... The Inquisitor has betrayed us, blank.
And then a word, yes.
So this word could be used out of context, and we don't need to worry about Eugene going haywire or anything like that?
No. It requires the full statement.
Okay. I'll just say red light. Yeah, red light.
Okay, that's good. Now, the nice thing about this system is you can both actually write those words down, and it won't be the full trigger phrase, so it won't give anything away.
I'll enter that into my data slate. I'll just write down red light under like an encrypted file, hide it in there.
Cool.
I'll remember cuddly.
Wonderful. All right. So we are a ways away from the spaceport. There are vehicles around, apparently. I don't entirely know how to find them. However, I do have an auspex, and we could look for metal. Any other thoughts on how to get there? I'll take suggestions for anyone, including you, Acri. I believe you can speak through to Alto currently.
Tom, I'm curious. Is it possible for Acri to join us outside the ship, or is he pretty well stuck here?
So His intelligence was rigged to the machine, but as you discovered when you entered the cockpit, and I feel like we didn't ever really cover this with the Inquisitor and Lyric, but they also may have just ignored it. His like skull and stuff are definitely like plugged into the machine. So if you did want to extract him, you could. I would need a tech use check from you, Alto, because he is. This isn't like a plug and play. This really is like his sort of consciousness and other things are rigged up. But you could hypothetically extract him.
Should we maybe treat Acri like a guide if we can get him off the ship?
Well, from what I've seen of the internal systems, Acri doesn't actually know where anything is. He has a pamphlet and then a rough idea of what this was supposed to be from several hundred years ago.
I mean, it's a reference point. If you think about it, the map that we used to find the Emperor's Hope was outdated, but it got us here.
He's also probably going to be useful in the future. We should take him.
How long will it take to unhook him from this entire setup, if you had to estimate?
Tom, do you have a time frame for that, or can I just say whatever I want?
I'm going to warn you all right now. I am 100% not going to be able to track the time frames on all of the days in this year of time you have. Yeah. So Ryan, if that's what you're getting at, I'm going to tell you right now, broad strokes, it'll take some time. But I would say basically, my question to you would be this. It will take time, but if you extract him, you can also probably strip what's left of the Emperor's Hope for parts. I would say it will probably take a couple of hours. But that will also give you a bunch of spare mechanical bits that you might need if you find broken vehicles along the way.
If Alto pitches it that way, the Inquisitor would be on board. Yeah. If it was just let's do this because it might be nice for a robot, he would shoot the robot in the head. He wouldn't tell them that; he'd just do it. But this was a good pitch from Alto. Yes, he agrees.
I also feel like for Alto, you probably are just suggesting taking him.
It's just nice to have Acri along for the ride for Alto, but like he can. He's the younger brother. He knows how to fucking like make a case and be like, please give me this stuff. Like,
but also, admittedly, like he's so rigged into this platform that in taking him out, even if that was your only goal, you would end up with all of these parts anyway. Like it's a little bit like if you try and take the battery out of a laptop and you have to like disassemble the entire laptop just to reach the fucking thing. Cause like, we put it under the keys. And you're like, okay, well, time to rip out some processors. I did this once. It was not fun. So yeah, I think it like in your head, you're very much making this case, but as you start to describe the process, Inquisitor, you see the like value in having these parts. Also knowing the state of technology in this sector, like the odds of you needing bits are high. So, all right. So you spend the time, disassembling things. I certainly don't mean to stomp on the idea of being time conscious. I just also mentally can't track.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't need. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to keep track of it either, and I don't think that's terribly interesting. I think he's just like, is this going to be an hour, or are we going to be here 2 days while you try to take a guy apart?
It's going to take us 364 days. It'll be worth it.
Acri explodes over the helm. No,
I think extract Acri, and he's like, "Well, what do you know? All the people you're trying to kill just arrived on this final day of the year, in this exact location. I'm a transponder."
Yeah, so I think the Inquisitor might have a little bit of knowledge in terms of how to build a servo skull, because I think he was more heavily involved in the construction and handling of Eugene. Not that he knows a lot about all tech, but he's got a little bit of knowledge in this one version. So he would probably assist in, I mean, he'd know like a vehicle needs a power cell, but not a hell of a lot. However, he might be able to suggest ways we could get Acri into a smaller, more carryable package than trying to carry an entire desiccated corpse.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to pitch, because I also do want to sort of stay true to the idea of the inconvenience of this a little bit, is that you'll basically have to take skull, a bit of the spine, and the rib cage, because there's enough like life support's a strong term in the 40K universe, but there's enough like shit in his guts keeping him going that you'll kind of need that much. So think in the Guillermo del Toro Hellboy, like kind of having like a half guy slung over your shoulder kind of deal. But you can also like pack him in a bag. And I think, yeah, with more time, I think basically we'll say that Valentyne, this is you applying all the servo shit, but there's just a little too much guts right now. Later, you'll be able to strip him down to like with a proper workshop. you could 100% turn him into a servo skull. It's just right now.
This is a speed hack job. Yeah, we got.
It's a speed hack job, and also like he was sustained by an entire ship, so you kind of have to bring enough stuff to keep that going. The good news is though that this also means that if you were to rig him up to the Astroline starport vehicle that's across planet, he can assist with that. Like it means you won't be starting from scratch if you want to plug him into shit. Yeah.
Are you looking for rolls from us at all, or is it just?
So this one is going to be a bit of a higher roll, Tyler. So this will be tech use. I'm going to say 4 purple. Oh, I didn't roll for story points. One moment. I'm going to go ahead and say we're at 3 and 3 on the story points. I'm going to spend 1 to upgrade one of those purples to a red. Acre is a pretty useful thing, so it behooves me as evil GM to make sure that useful things are slightly harder to get. That said, you've got assistance from Valentyne, so that's 1 boost.
Yep.
You've got your 2 from your tech tools, so that's an additional 2. I'm just going to let you factor those in. That's
going to be on me to remember.
Yeah, I'll just say that generally for all of you, if there's something that's specific to your sheet, because I don't know your character sheets at all, if I don't say it, either just tell me that you're adding it or just add it. Cool. It might be helpful for like those watching and listening at home if you do declare like, oh, and I have like thieves tools, which gives me this, or like my camo cloak does this. But I won't be able to factor those in for you. So please keep in mind that my word isn't law on these. It's just what I know from where I'm sitting, and then feel free to jump in. Cool, also, one of the nice things about Genesys is because it is a collective storytelling system, if you think there's something I'm missing or that I'm missing for someone else's check, please feel free to volunteer that. We did this a lot on Star Wars, but we haven't really done it here yet. Cool. So it'd be things like, if I've described you in a horrible sandstorm, and I'm like, yeah, okay, so you line up the sniper shot, one of you can be like, actually, we're in a sandstorm. I feel like it would be harder. I'd be like, oh, fuck, you're absolutely correct. I forgot about that. Because Ripley was on fire or something. I don't know.
Tyler, you do have your utility arm, which counts as whatever kind of tools you need. So that would also, I believe, add 1 blue for this.
That whole, I think, description contributes to the +2 as I understand it.
Dope.
+2 tech use. I always have tools needed to repair, modify, or manipulate machinery.
Yep.
Great. I will add a story point because I think the Inquisitor may not be entirely focused on getting Acre out, but he is very focused on preserving all the bits, which means he's being very careful in his assistance.
Sure. Also, admittedly, like, you've probably had to do, like, particularly back in the academy, you likely had to do rough patch jobs and that sort of thing. Like, this isn't outside the realm. It's like, honestly, it's like, to some extent, it's fixing a car, but you're not trying to fix it. You're just trying to take it apart. So it's like, I don't know what this is, but I know how to take it off. Crank, 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 crank in the bucket.
Yeah.
Lyric, what do you think you're doing during this?
Honestly, this is probably like I'm literally preparing like my leg because my leg's not healed. Right. Like I've just braced it. So I think this is like, fuck, we got to go through jungle. I'm not prepared for this. Like I've lived in like a city on like, even ground for a long time. So,
we have been traveling for a week through space. So I think some work might've been done for you.
Well, as we previously discussed, you're able to make like a decent brace. It's not enough to run on, and you've got your should I always forget Laslock sort of walking stick or cane. So you're more mobile. Like I think that the way to think of this for kind of the purposes of our survival adventure we're about to go on is like it's going to be stiff leg action. You can't really bend the knee.
Yeah.
So you're not completely immobile in snow or anything else. It's just more of it's going to be a hindrance for you until you can get proper medical support. Also, I will say, Valentyne, on the map and the schematics you downloaded, there are a number of sites along the way that have been listed. There's like the visitor center. There's like, the garage, the machine paddock, like those sorts of things are on your map. It's kind of hard to tell where you landed. Because obviously this map is oriented to the starport, such as it was. But there will be places along the way likely to find supplies, and if this is a tourist destination and there is like a visitor center, there will definitely be medical in there. You don't know what the state of it will be. It could be snowed in, but at least there should be
something. Yeah, and we can orient ourselves once we find one of the buildings.
I guess. I just want to like make clear that you're not just going through pure jungle from here to the starport. It's like you're traveling through the park.
Cool,
because that's how adventures work.
Sorry, I just want to clarify. Ryan, you mentioned using a story point. Is that for your roll? Are you rolling or
no? I'm adding it to yours.
Okay.
This is so for mentally in terms of how these Genesys rolls often work. And I know like those of you who played Star Wars on our other show know this, but generally the way I like to think of these is like rather than say a D&D where it's like, oh, like I'm rolling to help. It's like one person does the check, and if other people are helping, we add the dice. Yeah. And then but like from a story perspective, I do really want, it's not like, okay, well, I'll just sit back and like Alto will do it. It's like that blue dice is Valentyne, like unscrewing things and helping and doing that, just so that mentally we have the same picture of kind of what this action is. It's not like a beautiful mind where just you're the only one doing stuff. Everyone's kind of helping out as they can.
Got it. Okay. In that case, I'm incorporating that into my dice pool. I'm ready to roll.
Have at it, sir.
Okay. Ooh, those purple dice came up really bad, but thanks to the boost, we come away with 4 successes.
Oh shit! All right,
nice.
Good work. So it's I think. Sorry, my coffee is full of grinds. That is gross. That's a gross way to end my day. As I chew my way through my coffee. Alto, I think where the danger and the challenge really came up is taking apart machines is something you've done a ton of. Taking apart organic threaded machines is a whole new weird space.
Yeah.
Where you can, I think you're actually starting to pick it up pretty quickly. Having augments yourself, and also like augments are common enough of various sorts in the Imperium. You're I think just by intuition and experience starting to get like I see. Okay, yeah, this is a biofilter, right? He needs this, otherwise his brain would die. Great. Okay, well if I can reroute that. And with the help of the Inquisitor, who happily has actually dealt with this, particularly with his own eyes, and with Eugene, you're able to create a pretty compact, think like a small carry-on almost of Acri. Granted, it's like built of his ribcage and his head, but small enough that you can kind of one-hand it or sling it over your shoulder. And that bag, we'll say, also has like a lot of key components. I think particularly what you're looking for is a combination of incredibly common things that are just generally useful. So like bolts, screws, fasteners, that sort of thing. Fresh tubing, if there's any of that. And a mix of like incredibly rare components like power cells and processors and basically, I think, particularly for Valentyne, like you just think of all of the things that would stop a ship from moving that you've ever encountered, and you try and grab one of each as best you can. Granted, most of the ship is gone, so you're a little limited, but at least from navigation, life support, gravity, you're able to find kind of a bunch of that sort of stuff. But once you're done, the ship is as gutted as you can make it without like heavy power weapons, or like having like torches and shit. Which I imagine, Aldo, you probably got like a small torch ability, or are you like?
I have what I need with my utility mechadendrite, apparently. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's everything that a small torch could get, but you need you need poor dead welder that you lost in the atmosphere to get any deeper. So
Cheryl, I think.
Cheryl, yes. So with that, you are prepared to venture out. Is there any final things you'd like to do on board the ship before you venture out into the colds?
I don't think so. I think with Acri kind of in a duffel bag of his own making, that's kind of really the soul and the spirit of the ship as far as Alto's concerned. So he's really taking a lot of it with him.
I think Valentyne would turn to Alto and say,
If you could ask Acri, is there some sort of black box or something that would record what happened to the ship, where it's gone, what it's done, all of those good things?
I believe that's Acri. Acri's the black box.
And I think we can say that in the interim, you've rigged up like a really shitty speaker with like a headphone, just so that we don't have to constantly.
Great.
And he'll be like, yeah, that's me. I would commune direct with the machine spirit of the good ship, and yeah, I got all the records in my old noggin.
Wonderful. Is that machine spirit still alive currently?
I mean, it's probably drifting. Now that I'm disconnected, I can't feel it anymore. But as the ship was torn apart and fell apart, well, I think it was just staying alive to make sure we made it out okay.
all right, excellent. And then he'll just rev up his chainsword and just like ram it through the processor, like the front deck, and just kill the computer. Because Valentyne is not really going to go into this, but he's aware that if this starts to go bad at any point, the hunt will probably start at Galen's glory. So he needs to just make sure there's as little trail as possible moving forward.
Yeah, you can torch this thing on the way out if you want. I think that makes sense.
Done and done.
All right. So as the 3.5 of you step out, I guess like 3 3/4 because you've also got Eugene. Step out. You just rig up Valentyne a rough Molotov cocktail kind of deal with like, I don't know, windshield wiper fluid or some stupid thing that you found. And as the icy air hits you, and down here it's, you know, there's because you are between the trees and there's sort of so much foliage, it's not a windy cold. It's that kind of like horrible prairies cold where it just sits. So in this kind of like, you step out into this ever-present cold, pulling your cloaks, if you've got them a little closer around you. And before you set out into the jungles of the death world of Tren, Valentyne, you turn back, bottle in hand. What do you say before you set the ship alight?
Well, the Emperor loves a good fire, and we all love progress. So here's to the next part of our adventure. I christen this the beginning of something good.
And then he'll toss it.
There are a lot of debates amongst scholars about the actions that occurred during the Valentyne Heresy. But one of the ones that often escapes notice and has only been brought up by a couple of minor scholars who to this day are generally disregarded, mostly due to their lack of proper footnotes. There is a kind of delicious irony in the fact that one of the earliest acts of the heresy was the burning to a crisp of the Emperor's hope. And yet, here we are. And so, the 4 of you, 3.5, set off into the jungles.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter as Alto, Laura Elizabeth at EL Hamstring on Twitter as Lyric, and our Game Master Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode was edited by Ryan LaPlante, and the Valentyne Heresy show logo was created by Decapitated Markers at Decapitated Marker on Twitter. That's MRKR. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ads use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, provided by freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. We have merchandise available at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, and most importantly, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics. Dum Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christian Menicola, Long, the Half-Blind Prophet, James Cuellar, DM Rob, Christopher Little, Olin Anderson, Sue 1, Devin Boyce, George Dolby, One True Artistry, Orion Birchfield, Anthony Griffin, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.